Hello gamers, it's Mew. I've been wanting to do more writing related videos on this channel and I thought this might be a good topic to do. Um I'm not sure what I'm doing for the visuals yet. Maybe I'll edit in later what I decide to do. You'll see what I ended up doing for the visuals, but this is more casual, not heavily visuals based, But anyways, so if you don't know, I've been writing since 5th grade. My earliest stories were not good at all. Most of the stories I read on here are the ones that I made between like 6th and 8th grade. Actually, it's more like 5th to 8th grade. And then once I started freshman year, I wasn't writing as much. In fact, like partway through yeah, like by freshman year, I just stopped writing completely for a while, which was kind of sad, but I guess I lost the writing bug for a while. And then in sophomore year, for a New Year's resolution, I decided to write my main story, Kingdoms, with the hopes of publication. And I've been working on the story for 3 years now, and I've learned a lot, which is why I'm making this video. This can work for anyone, honestly, but I mostly aim this video towards young writers in high school, or maybe even younger if they stumble upon this. If you do, hi, hello, this is for you. First off, if you are wanting to get published, you are going to have to dedicate a lot of time to writing whatever it is that you want to write. Yeah. If you're still in like school, you might be able to get through homework or clubs and not struggle with also finding time for writing. For me, though, I feel like I had to make a lot of sacrifices. Clubs weren't necessarily a problem for me, really, because I wasn't really interested in most of the ones at my school. The art club was big. I already took art classes though, so I felt like I was already getting my art fix in school. And then there was like a writing club extremely briefly, but it only had like 3 members or so, and then it disbanded like a year later. So writing, if writing became a club again, I would have to have founded it, and I don't know who would have joined, but Anyway, uh, I feel like combined with my writing and also my introvertedness, I didn't spend as much time with my friends outside of high school as I wish I did. Hell, I feel like I wasn't spending as much time as I could with like anything that wasn't writing, just because like I was so focused on writing. Don't get me wrong, I do love writing. I'm glad I started young, but I feel like there was a lot of teenager experiences that I missed out on because I chose to do writing instead of anything else. You can choose how much time you'd like to dedicate to writing, of course. For me, though, I think I might have tried dedicating too much time to writing. Of course, writing a lot might mean your story's done faster, so, consider all the variables, I guess. Second, don't be afraid to try different methods of writing. And by this, I mean try setting a timer for an hour and try to write. See how much you can get done. If a timer or something like that doesn't work, maybe do smaller amounts of time but more frequently, like 30 minutes in like twice a day you do 30 minutes of writing. 4 times a day you write for 15 minutes a day. Maybe write on paper if you find online writing doesn't work, but if you do plan to publish, you'll probably have to write it into a document and then edit online. Maybe you could try using TrackBear, which tracks your word counts and progress, but can also make writing more competitive if you invite some friends or join one of these leaderboard thingies. I'll show a little example. You can also use websites that make writing more like a game, and the one I use is called For the Words. It basically lets you choose a boss, and then you have to write a certain number of words to defeat it in a certain amount of time. And then once you do that, you get insight rewards. It also has a little story to do it too, but you don't have to pay attention to the story if you don't want to. I also have a code you can use as well to sign up for free. It is mewkitten. You get some cool stuff. Point is, it's a good idea to play around and find a method of writing, like in and of itself, that works for you. Because if your method of writing is something you like, then you don't have to worry about, oh God, doing an hour of writing every day is such a chore. That's what I tried doing, but I didn't get much done. And that's why I like For the Words. I'm gonna make a whole video on For the Words eventually, by the way, so That's the very shortened version of it. Third, find people to critique and read your writing. There's many ways you're able to do this. You can use critique circles, Scribophile. I've heard about betareader.io. I don't use it. I don't really use Scribophile either. I am on the website, but I was so intimidated I joined and then I didn't do anything else. There are Facebook groups, Discord groups, etc. That's just a handful of many ways you can do it. I've only really used Critique Circle, and that's the only successful way. I've gotten critiques outside of like well, actually, yeah, there's like one person who I successfully got to beta read and slash critique whatever outside of Critique Circle, but even then we literally met on Critique Circle in the first place, so it doesn't count. But yeah, Critique Circle is the only one I can really vouch for, so I will also do a video on Critique Circle eventually too. Fourth, make sure you really love your story as much as possible before committing to it. There's inevitably going to be parts about writing you don't like, and I think pushing through and writing despite those is good, but I think a story should be less about what you think makes for a good story and more about things you love or are passionate about. For example, I really hate love triangles. I think they're so overdone that I'm not really interested in them, like point blank. But if you love writing about love triangles, fuck how I feel about them. Go write about them for yourself. If there's something you really don't like, you don't have to force yourself to do it if you really don't want to, and even trying is like hindering the story. Even if your story is flawed with the things you decide to do with your story, if you really love it, then I think a lot of people are going to feel that passion that you feel. A story that's more about stuff you love but flawed will probably be easier to fix than a good story that you really don't care for. Fifth, don't go right into your big story idea unless you're really sure you have the skills to write it. When I first started writing Kingdoms, I was rusty as hell. I stopped writing for like a year probably. I was so excited to write it that I just dove in head first, which it's not necessarily a bad idea, but I was kind of bullshitting my way through fight scenes and everything. If you want to write a story that includes things you aren't the greatest at, but you still want to do, like for example, I am a romantic at heart. I like the idea of romance, but I find I'm bad at writing it, and also a lot of times romance makes me cringe for some reason. I'm not even sure why, but so making practice stories might help you in the long run. You don't have to be perfect with your practices, because if you don't like the practices, you can just ditch them if you really want to. But getting a feel for things might be better than just trying to wing it and spending lots of time editing the story later. It's a big regret I have with Kingdoms. I probably should have researched and practiced a few things a little bit more before I started writing, because we're 3 years in and I don't know if it's even coming out this year. And I had to push it back I had to push it back from April 2024 to begin with. So, Oh, yeah. And, if you like your practice stories, you can actually use them. You can make them into short stories or, expand upon them. So, practice stories might be to your benefit, if not, practice stories might be to your benefit beyond just practicing something. 6, if you have the resources, obviously, take a class. I think a writing class can be really helpful. I was able to take one, and I feel like I got some nice stories out of it, and I learned a few things, I think, anyway. 7th, read other books. There's a lot of debate on if you should even be a writer if you hate reading, and I think writers should also be readers. If you stop for a while, now's a good time to get back into it. I think, I was really into reading, and then I think I stopped around like middle school because, school has a tendency to be like, okay, let's read this book and analyze it. But, like, sometimes doing things for school just kills the enjoyment. But so a few years ago, I committed to reading outside of school, and it's been very fun to just be tearing through books all the time. If you read, you might pick up on different writing techniques or writing styles. It's not a guarantee to make your writing good, though. Like, I've been reading the most I have in a long time, and I've still gotten critiques on my writing that say to just read more. So, uh, besides that being kind of a soul-crushing critique, it's just proof it's not gonna magically fix everything, but could be helpful, and it's also just a good thing to do, I think. Eighth, figuring out your critiquing and editing process before working on your big story. Most of the edits I did for Kingdoms used to just be doing most of what my critiquing partners told me. A few edits I wanted to do myself, but that was it. I think that's part of the reason why it's taken me so long to write Kingdoms. I give this advice because I thought it would take me 2 years to write Kingdoms, but it's taken more like 3, and it might go on for a 4th year at the rate I'm going. If you can figure out your process of editing on a short story, then you can come up with release dates, knowing your time management and style, and not be disappointed if you can't meet your goals. Obviously, shit happens, so even if you know about how long you take, you might not reach your deadlines, you might be quicker than them, but it's good to be in the know. I didn't put this on my script, but if you're super new to editing and writing, might not be a good idea to pick a date to have your story out by, because I made the mistake of doing that. If I've said this multiple times, but Kingdoms I wanted to be out by April 2024, but by the time April 2024 hit, I was not ready at all. It was not ready to be seen in a bookstore, and I was extremely devastated by the fact that I had to push back when Kingdoms was coming out. And it sucked. It sucked. I will not lie. It was not. I was very upset with myself, but nothing you can do except just keep going, keep writing, At this point, it's been a year ago since I hit the initial publishing date. But yeah, basically, if you don't know, like, if you're so new to writing that you haven't really figured out your pace and how long it takes you to do things, don't pick a date to have it out by, because if you don't hit it, you might be super disappointed. Although, if you're a different person than me, then maybe you won't be as disappointed. Maybe you'll just be like, oh, fuck, well, what else I can do? This was supposed to be a list of 10. I got 9. The 9th one I just kind of remembered on the spot. I can't come up with the 10th right now, but I hope you like this writing video. Let me know more writing-based videos you would like me to do, and that is all for this video today. Thank you, guys. Bye!